Hey, what's up YouTube? My name is Brett and today we are going to create a fully functional search bar using Next.js 13 and the SearchParams. We are going to fetch data from a cryptocurrency API on rapidAPI. So we're going to be able to filter through cryptocurrency coins based on our search. So if this sounds interesting to you, hit that like button and also subscribe for more content just like this. So without further ado, let's get started and let's get coding. Before we start coding anything, I want to show you exactly the API we are fetching. We are on rapidapi.com/hub, and you could go to the finance category. And inside the finance category, I am going to the API called Coinranking. When you go here, you will see a blue button center screen that says subscribe to endpoint. Mine says test because I'm already subscribed to it. After you subscribe to the endpoint, it is free. You can use these endpoint API calls to actually fetch data from this API. So for example, you could call a bunch of different endpoints and all the endpoints will be here to the left and they will change the endpoint that you can call. But we are just going to call one endpoint for this tutorial called get coins, and it will fetch 50 cryptocurrency coins and allow us to list it on our application. And if you come over here to the right, you can see all of the different coding languages that you can use. We are going to use JavaScript with fetch. It kind of shows you how to code it. We are going to code it a little different. We're not using a try catch block, and we're going to code the fetch request a little more condensed and concise and more organized, I feel like, in my opinion. But this is exactly where we're getting all of the data from for all of the coins that we're going to use for this project. So make sure you subscribe to the endpoint so you can follow along with the tutorial. After you subscribe to the API endpoint, we have to set up our environment. So to do that, we can open up our terminal on our computer and we could change directories into wherever you want to keep your code or project. So I have a specific projects folder I keep all of my projects in. We are going to run the command line npx create-next-app at latest. We'll press enter, and then it will prompt us to a few questions. What is the project name? We can name this coin filter project. We're going to use TypeScript, no. ESLint, no. Tailwind, yes. The source directory, no. App router, yes. And we are going to keep the import alias as is, so it is no. Now we'll initialize our project and also install all the dependencies needed. This should take about 15 seconds. And then after this, we are going to change directories into our project. So we're going to cd into coin-filter.project. And then we just type code dot, and this will open up our text editor, which mine is VS Code. We could close the terminal, pull my VS Code over on the screen, and we are getting ready to code. So before we do that, let's clean up a few files. So we go inside the app directory, and you should know, if you're watching this video, you should know at least, I feel like, beginner level Next.js content. And if you don't, this might be a little more advanced than your liking. So inside of the page.js, which is our home page, we can remove everything inside the return. And then we could just put a div. Inside the div, we'll have an h1 that says homepage, and we can remove the import at the top. Inside of the global CSS, we will remove lines 5 through 27. We close that file. And then other than that, we can start setting up some folder structure. So one of our folders is going to be called an API. This is where all of our API routes are going to be held inside of this folder. We can have another folder inside of the app directory called components. This is where we will have our search coins, and this is where we're going to have our coins component. We are going to have another folder, or that's actually about all the folders we need, because we're going to use this page.js, and that's where we're going to display all of the information. Even though it's our home page, for this project, we will display all of our information on the home page. If you're creating a big multi-page project with crypto coins, you should probably have a page that just has crypto coins itself, so you would want to create another page for that. But for now, we are ready to go and we are ready to start coding. So the very first file I want to start working on is our initial request to that API endpoint. So to do that, inside of the API folder, I'm going to have another folder called coins. And inside of that coins folder, we'll have a new file called route.js. So this is where we're going to call our get request, which is our get handler. You don't use the word handler anymore because that was in the previous version. So what we have to do is we have to import a next response from next/server. And the endpoint that we have to call in our front end is going to be localhost 3000/API/coins. So that is the endpoint path name kind of we're in right now. So now that we have next response at the top from next server, we are going to create a function that is going to fetch all the coins. And we're going to use the fetch web API. So it's going to look like this. We're going to have an async function that says fetch coins, has no parameters passed in. We're going to have a response that is going to equal await, and then we're going to fetch that endpoint. So what we can do is we can go back to our documentation on rapidAPI, and we are fetching this URL right here. So we could copy that and then paste it inside of the fetch. And then I'm going to wrap this by pressing Alt-Z. So now all my code is wrapped. We're going to have a comma, and then we're going to pass through some options. So the first thing is going to be a method of get, because that's all we're doing. After this, we're going to have some headers. And the headers are going to be the host, which is the URL we are fetching from, and we need the API key. So to do that, I am going to copy my API key and host. You should keep your API key in an env file. But other than that, you should be good to go. So we have the headers, the method is get. It looks like we're messing up on something here. So we have the fetch with the method get headers. We could close this option right here so everything's actually fixed. I was just missing a curly brace. And then after this, we want to turn our response into stored in a variable and then turn it to JSON. So we're going to have const coins equals await response.json, and then we need to return the coins. So it still looks like we are missing something somewhere. And it's because this has to be above right there. And then we are good to go. So it should look exactly like this. And now we are returning the coins. So now we can actually make our get request for this backend function. It'll be a get. And as you can see, we are exporting this one and we're not exporting this function. So this function is going to stay within this file of route. So we are going to pass in a request as a param. And this is going to be a get request. And we are going to have coins and we're going to await the fetch coins. So we're going to call this function up here, stored in coins, and then we are going to send the response as JSON as coins. So we can make sure that everything is working correct by opening our terminal, running npm run dev, open up localhost 3000. And then if you go to our endpoint, we should get a next response of all of our coins. And we can see how it looks. So it should be /API/coins. And as you can see here, we get a bunch of JSON data. So obviously the JSON data has a bunch of nested objects and nested arrays, it looks like, too, as well. So we are actually fetching the data successfully. So that's a good thing. So now we could actually go back into our code editor and we could call this on the front end, which is going to be in our page.js file. And we have to take into account that this page is going to be a client-side page, And the reason for that is because we are going to have to store variables in state. So that means we have to use useState. And if we're using useState and we want to call certain fetch requests, we have to use useEffect. So we can mark the top of the page as a use client. And like I said, it's because we're using React hooks. So it has to be client side rendered. So we could import those right off the bat. useEffect. And then we could start initializing our state up here, right below the function. We are going to store state in coins and set coins. Okay. And then right below that, we can have a useEffect. So right every time we land on the page, we want this to call. So what we want to call here is we want to have a response equal to await. My fault, because we don't have an asynchronous function, so that's not going to work. So we are going to have const, and we could call a function called getCoins, and this will be an async arrow function, asynchronous arrow function. It is going to have a response, and we want to have to fetch the data from that API route handler, which was /API/coins, and that is the one we just made. So it is inside the /API/coins, and it is this route. And the reason why we aren't calling it here is because we want to call that function and we want to get the request server side. So that's why we're doing it like this. And then after that, we can store the coins. So we're going to say const coins, and this is going to equal the response.json. We have to await that as well. And then we have to store that data into a variable, and the way you do that is by calling the function setCoins and then passing in the coins. But the caveat here is, let's just close this real quick and I'll show you. So we're going to close that, and then we're going to call getCoins so we could actually call the function so it works, and then we're going to have an empty array for the dependency up here. Okay, so it looks like our useEffect is done. The only thing I'm going to change here coming up is the coins right here. And I want to show you exactly why. So if we go back to our Coinranking API on rapidapi.com, go to example responses right here. It was where code snippets was. You have example responses, and it shows you the response you get. So if you just get coins, this is what we get. But then we want to go further into different objects so we could actually access properties that we want, like name and price and the image of the actual coin. So to do that, we have to go inside of this data. So we're going to be inside of coins.data. And then inside of that, we have two other options we could go down. Stats, which is giving us just the total stats, or coins. So we're going to have coins.data.coins, and then we have all of our coins here. So as you can see, we have the symbol, we have access to the symbol, the name, the color, we have access to the actual image, the price, everything we want to have access to that we want to display, we have here. So that's why we are going in multiple times with dot notation. So let's go back to our code. And like I said, it's coins.data.coins. And that is going to allow us to actually get access to what we want, which is like the name, the price, the image of the actual coins. So now that we have this useEffects hook called, and we actually are calling the function inside of it, inside of the cleanup right here, we can create right below here in the return, we can have an H1 called crypto coins. And then let's style a few of these things up real quick. We'll have text center. And then for this H1, we'll have the font bold. And I am using Tailwind CSS. If you don't know what that is, there's a lot of videos on it, but the CSS is done inside the JSX. And then margin top of 14. Okay. So now I'm going to create a component right here. So this is how we're going to actually display the coins. So I'm going to create a component called coins, which we haven't created yet. and we want to pass a parameter of coins equal to coins. So whatever the coins is, because we set the coins to coins.data.coins, and then the variable should be here, and then we're passing in the coins. So now we need to create that file called coins inside of components, coins.jsx, and then we could do a rfc. So it gives us a function, which is a snippet called ES7 that you could find in the extensions right here. ES7 is this one right here. And that's what lets me type in these functional components fast. And then we are going to accept the parameter coins. It's because we are passing it into our component right here. And then let's also import coins since we're on this page anyway. And that is going to be from the components folder and in the coins file. So we could close this initial route. Now we can actually start working on the coins component. And we passed in the parameter, so now we could use it inside of our code. So for me, I am going to have just a fragment as the parent element covering everything. And then we will have an unordered list. And then inside of the unordered list, we want to map through all the coins. So coins.map. And then we're going to iterate through each coin. We're going to have a listed item, and the key is going to be the coins.uuid, because that is actually one of the parameters inside of the actual coin. And then what we want to do here is we could give it the coin name, the coin symbol, the coin price. You could cut it here. I mean, you could add any of the properties you want, but I want to add one more, which is the image. And I want to add the image at the very beginning. And we have to import the image component from next/image here at the top. And we are going to get thrown an error because we are actually trying to use an image from another URL, and we actually need to configure that with our jsconfig.json file. So I'm going to go to my localhost 3000, press enter, and we are going to get an error thrown. And it says it can't resolve component/coins. So it's saying we're importing it from the wrong file anyway, so we got to fix that. So let's fix that real quick. So we're going to import coins from so we're just going up one file. So /components/coins. Perfect. So now if we go back to our localhost 3000, we're getting one error. Response.json is not a function. So let's fix that as well. So that is inside of the app/page. So inside of our home page, it's saying this is not a function. And let's see why. So we have the coins, we're awaiting the response.json, and it's because we're not fetching. I don't know why I missed that keyword. So now we have to fetch that, and then we should get a response.json. And now we're getting the error that I was expecting, which is saying we have an invalid source prompt on our image because the host name is not configured under images in your next.config.js file. So I'm going to copy this domain, go back, and then we're going to go inside of our next config file. We are going to have images, an object, and inside the object, we need to have domains, and then we're going to pass an array with a string of that domain. So this means we're accepting images from this domain, which is cdn.coinranking.com. This is going to automatically shut your server down because we're messing with that file. We could do an npm run dev again. Go to localhost 3000, open that up, and we can see if we have any other errors we need to fix. So as you can see, there is no other errors we could fix. We are actually displaying information now from our data. Now let's just clean this up a little bit with some styling. So we are going back to our coins component. And for the unordered list, let's do a class name of grid. We are going to do grid columns 4. And FYI, this isn't like the best styling, but it just gets the job done, and you could actually see the coins for what they are. So we're gonna have a margin of auto left and right. We will have a max width of 1,260 pixels, and we're gonna have a gap between each item of 10. Another thing I want to do is for the listed items, we could have flex and then flex column. And then other than that, let's look at everything we have in our localhost. So as you can see, everything looks a lot better. We're having all of our coins actually displaying, and now we are ready to actually create the search bar so we can filter through the coins and actually pick which coin we want, so we don't have to keep looking through all of them. So let's work on that now. So on the home page, right underneath coins, actually not underneath coins, above coins, we are going to have another component, and we are going to create search coins. So this is where we're going to have all of our code for these search coins, at least for the front end. And this is where we're going to make that backend call inside of search coins. We're going to get an error thrown because we don't have this component created. So let's create it real quick. Search coins.jsx. And then we can do RFC. Remove the React import at the top. And then we could go back to our page and we can import it at the top. And we're importing it from ./components/search coins. So now we have that imported. Cool. So the next thing I want to do is I want to start creating the backend for this specific call, and then we'll work on the front end. So inside of coins, I want to create another folder called search. So now this endpoint is going to be /API/coins/search. And then inside the search, to start doing code, we need a route.js file. That is just the file convention for this page. Okay, so now we can actually start writing the code. First thing is we need to import next response from next/server. And now I am just going to copy some code over, and it's going to be the same code from the fetch coins. So we're going to fetch the coins again because we need access to the coins. So we're just going to have to call it again like this. So like I said, there is ways to make the code more efficient where you can only write this once and like export it from different files. But you could call it up top too. It's not a big deal. It's not much lines of code. So we are fetching the coins again inside of this file. And then after that, we are going to start working with SearchParams. So we're going to do an export async function, and it'll be a get request. We're passing in the request. And then inside of this, we need to define coins. So coins is going to equal the await fetch coins function, which is right here. And then right below this, we are going to start using SearchParams. So all of this information is inside of Next.js 13 docs. I'll try to explain it to the best of my ability. But SearchParams allows us to access queries. So for example, let me go back to our page. So we could do like localhost 3000, and it could be like /coins, and it'll be like a question mark search equals, and then it could be whatever value it wants. So the query is going to be whatever we're passing inside of the search URL. And that is going to allow us to say what we're searching for. So let me actually work on the front end because that'll probably make more sense. So let's go inside of our search coins. And inside of these search coins, let's make this a use client because we're going to have state. So inside of the search coins, let's import the link from next/link, and then let's also import use state so we could actually store some state inside of variables. So like I said, we are going to be looking for queries. So that's going to be our state. So we're going to have query and then set query. And you're going to see exactly how we pass it to the backend. So and right below that, we are going to have a handle submit. The reason why we're going to have a handle submit is because when you search on the UI, you're going to click a button, which is going to call the handle submit function. So we need to create the handle submit function right here. You can name this whatever you want, but I'm going to name it a handle submit. It will be asynchronous. We are going to pass in the event object arrow function into a code block. Let's do prevent default, so the page prevents the default of what it usually does. And then we're going to have a response variable, and we're going to await a fetch from that API we started working on. So it's going to be /API /coins /search, and as you can see, it's trying to finish my code for me. It is because it's trying to finish the query. So as you can see, we're going to have a question mark, and then we'll have the query, and that is going to equal a dynamic value of query. So whatever we type in, that is going to be the value of query. So that means we need to change the strings to template literals. So we have a template here and a template there. So whatever we get for the variable for query, we're going to pass that query into the search parameters. And then inside of the route file in the backend, we have to access those search parameters and then push out the new map data, pretty much in a sense, of that specific search parameter. So let's go back into our search coins, which is our front end. We are awaiting data from this certain API and passing in this query variable. So let's get the coin, and the coin is going to equal await response.json. Turn it into a JSON object. And then that's it for now. We can work on that's it for the handle submit now. We're going to add one thing later, but let's work on the JSX. So inside of this div, we can keep that as the parent. We are going to have a form with the on submit, which is the handle submit. It's going to call that. We are going to have an input, and that input looks pretty good. We could say for the placeholder search coin ... the input type is text. We have an on change that's setting the query to the e.target.value, which is whatever we type. And then we need the value, which is going to be the query. Perfect. So that is good for the input. Right below the input, we need a button. And inside the button, we just could have search as the text. And then we could put a type, which is submit. And then let's style a few things out. But actually, let's close this form. So we close the form there. And then other than that, yeah, let's style everything up. So we're going to have a class name on the parent div of text-center. And then margin top and bottom of 20. So inside of the input, let's have a class name of text-black. We're going to have a border of 2. We're going to have the border black. The edges are going to be rounded full. We're going to have padding left and right of 3, and then padding top and bottom of 2. And then we are going to style this button real quick. So we're going to have a background on this button of black. We're going to have the text white. Edges will be rounded full. Padding left and right of 3. Padding top and bottom of 2. And then let's have a hover effect. So we're going to have hover, semicolon, BG, black, with the 60 opacity. Okay. So that looks pretty good. So now let's start working on our backend API request for this certain path, which is inside of the API coin search. So now we call the fetch coins here at the top. Now let's get this GET request and start using the search params. because we're passing that query value to this specific backend. So we're going to have const, and we're going to destructure the search params. And it is going to equal a new URL request.url. Let's create a variable called query, and the query is going to equal the search params and is going to get the query. So it's going to be the query value. And the reason why you put .get in the query is because if you go back to your search coins, the query equals the query value, so we want to get the query's value, so you put .get for the search params. And that is going to allow us to get whatever the person typed inside of the search. And we're going to store it inside of query. And now we just need to filter through the coins. So we're going to use the filter higher order function. So we're going to say filtered coins equals coins.data.coins.filter, and then we're going to pass through each coin. We're going to have an arrow function into some code block, and then we are going to have a return, and it'll be coin.name because that's one of the properties we have access to. And then we have to do to lowercase because somebody might be typing all caps and we won't be able to find what they're typing because they typed all caps. So we're just going to make sure this is to lowercase, everything that has in there. And then we're just going to do a query dot to lowercase as well. So we are putting both of the search params and the actual code name into lowercase to actually match them correctly. And then you could have it or, which could be either be the coin symbol to lowercase, which includes the query to lowercase. So it's either going to look for the name or the symbol that they typed. And then after we have that, right below this function, we could return a next response.json of the filtered coins. So it looks exactly like that. So let's bring our page over here, localhost 3000 /API/coin/search. We refresh the page. Let's see if we get anything in the console. It's just saying you can't read properties of null to lowercase. And that is because we haven't typed in anything yet. I'm pretty sure why. Let's just test everything out to make sure. Let me make sure everything looks good. So we have to search coins. We are setting the coins to .data.coins. Okay, so the last thing is we have to actually, inside of these search coins, we have to pretty much pass in data to a function. So we're going to call get search results. And we're going to pass in the parameter of coin, whatever we get. So whatever we get from this request, we're going to pass in here. Okay? And we're going to kind of go up in the hierarchy of our file conventions here. So for our page.js, which is our home page, which is technically the parent of those two components, we are going to have a get search results. And then this is going to equal an object, and we are going to get the results. Iterate through them, and then we are going to set the coins to the results of whatever they typed in. So now we got to pass this and accept it in as a parameter in these search coins. So up here, we could destructure it, get search results, and there we go. So let me stop the terminal real quick. We could npm run dev, and then let's check to make sure everything is running pretty good. Let's see if we get any errors thrown at us. Okay, so this is how your application should look right now. We have a search bar. We have the crypto coins as the title, and we have all of our crypto coins here. Let's inspect the page, look at the console, see if there's actually any errors. Image with source has either width or height modified, but not the other. So let's just look at the image real quick. That's actually not that big of a deal. We just say it's priority. I think everything else is good. You don't have to worry about that. Yeah, no, so now it's gone. Okay, so now let's test it out to make sure everything is working. So let's type in like Bitcoin, press search, and as you can see here, we get the Bitcoin and only the Bitcoin. Cool. So let's try something else. Let's try Shiba. Press enter, and we get the Shiba coin here. So we are actually, I'll show you exactly what we're doing. We are clicking the search button, which is right here. It is calling this handle submit function, which then is fetching to this API endpoint right here and passing in the search result, which we named query as the variable. And then if you look inside of the search, we are getting the search params from the request.url. And let me see if we can see the console log for the request.url. And it is right here. So the request.url is giving us back this value right here of localhost 3000 /API /coins. And then it's the search with the query equal to Shiba. So as you can see, we're getting the result. And then we can actually console log this too as well. So we could console log search params.get, and then we could get the query. And like I said, the query is whatever this equal, whatever's after this equal sign equals to the query. So we could try to console log it again. So let's try it again. We are going to search for, say, XRP. Search. We will come back to the console. And you see in the console, XRP was passed to this backend route, which then we filtered all of the coins just to show back this response of filtered coins. And obviously the only filtered coins inside of this variable is XRP. And then if you come back here, XRP goes inside this coin value, which is get search results. And then we display it because we set the coins to XRP, which displays XRP as the coin. So let's go back to it again. And now let's try one more. We could try Pax. I've never even heard of that, Pax. And then as you can see, we get Pax dollar. So this is how you actually create a search functionality inside of Next.js 13 using the search params. If you have any questions or you felt like you didn't understand a concept completely, leave a comment down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you could hit that like button and also subscribe for more, I would greatly appreciate that. Other than that, stay tuned. There's going to be a lot more content coming out. So make sure you hit that subscribe, and happy coding to all.